morning. I woke up kind of early. I had these thoughts spinning in my head, so I guess now is as good a time as any. It's February 16th, the day after President's Day, 2021, after the year of 2020. It's been a while, and I think I'm going to start this again. Self-referential stuff. Another 30-plus-year-old male holding forth some kind of concept or over-important kind of sense of self, something to say to people that aren't even there, maybe. Anyway, whatever. Point of the matter is, I'm going to keep it simple, focused on this particular thing, because it just sort of came to me very clearly, and I've been thinking this for a while. So it's about whether you're a fan and a supporter of Donald J. Trump, 45th president, or you are a committed anti-never-Trumper, or whether you're one of about 50% of the American population, which is totally disenchanted with the electoral political process at the moment and don't engage, don't vote, or do other forms of social political engagement. Nonetheless, we're going to be in a situation for a while, and it's a short while. And I just wanted to show you, besides the Bible, besides The Art of the Deal, Donald Trump's favorite book, the book he's used now for at least 10 years, maybe more. Let's see. What is this book is copyright 1998. It's by Robert Greene. It's called The 48 Laws of Power. Chances are, if you're watching this and you're watching another male dude talking, you're familiar with the book. You may have browsed it, may have decided not to read it, may have whatever. Well, this book I'm going to just show you now in the next few minutes how this is pretty much the operating manual that Donald Trump has used and is currently using. And if you want to understand whether as a supporter and you want to go further with him, or someone that wants to understand what's going on, or someone that feels they're not involved, I'll summarize it for you. It's easy enough. It's a little thick, but you'll see that it's big words and lots of spacing, and it's a perfect toilet read, so you can read it and become a master of Machiavellian power if you want to through this book. And that's exactly what Donald Trump has done, and you'll see for yourself. And you can pick up the book, or you can look it up online, and it's easy enough. Also, if you're a person of color and or a female person, I apologize that there's such a lack of between all the dudes that are on the YouTubes, you'll benefit from this book too. And the proviso is that don't get uncomfortable with this word, because that's the age we're in. And understand a few things beforehand. There's a difference between power and force. They're very similar. There's a book called Power versus Force, but never mind that. And but it's a matter of knowing the terrain and understanding what's going on. And you'll see pretty quickly what I'm talking about. Anyway, 48 Laws of Power. Okay. It's a Penguin edition book, came out in 1998. Robert Greene, a Juiced Elfer's book. You can try and get this used or something, or you go and you look up 48 Laws of Power. And what's nice is the layout of the book has every law is a chapter. Let's see if I can see. It says law number 1, law number 2, etc. Has the name of the law here, and then it has a summary over here. It's summarized, a distillation. When you go to the chapter, let's say, for instance, this is law number 6, court attention at all costs. The way it's laid out, again, it has the summary over here, and then it tells you basically how an example of observing the law, and it's drawn from history, whether it's Chinese Sun Tzu type of art of war stuff, or Renaissance court times like Machiavelli period, or modern day politics, or whatever, con men, wherever power, examples of power are. And so what this author did was he distilled from his observations and studies essentially 48 laws, ways that people tend to try to use power or have power. And everybody from a child up to whoever is always looking for a sense of power in their life. And power is what gives life its panache. So a little child will cry and get their parents to do something, and it's not consciously intending to do what it does, but we get feelings. And so it's a haphazard thing. We are constantly confronted in our lives with attempts to have a feeling of power, and also fighting against or being up against assertions of power. And some people are better at it than others, and you see some people that are charismatic and do whatever, and you wonder how do they do it, or how they accumulate this or the other thing. And those are aspects of power. True power is a different thing. That's a philosophical issue, a personal issue, whether you're a believer in the Lord or whether you are a secular humanist atheist and you believe in matter and the body or whatever it is. That's a whole different story. This book is about how it seems to work regardless of the story. So it's kind of a cold assessment, and yet it's filled with little sideline stories like on the margins. So one could go to the bathroom and start reading the first chapter and then stop wherever and then carry on. And so in a short period of time, you can become familiar with all the information. There's historical stuff, so there's secondary things you can learn and look up. Or you can just browse through it and that's it. Or once you read it, you go back and you just distill and get from the laws at the front a summation, and you remind yourself like, oh yeah. So that's what we're going to do. If you find it interesting, you can get your own copy and look at it further. It's a fun read. It's really well laid out and stuff like that. Now, you'll notice before I read this for you, or summarize, it's not going to take that long, don't worry. But there's a preface. The preface, I think, is worth the read because it's the author explaining to you where he's coming from. He wrote 2 other books, one called The Art of Seduction, something like that, and certain principles of seduction, and then The Laws of War, something like this. But this is the bestseller, whatever. But in the preface, or maybe it's at the end somewhere, he makes it clear. He says, hey, just in case you're reading this book because you want to get power, be careful, because if you attempt to do this, you will create a situation for yourself that's unsustainable. Eventually, they come and get you. Just in case as a reference, if you're a fan of Pink Floyd, you might want to check out the album Animals. It has elements of this. And a lot of this stuff is going to be familiar, but it's put together coherently in such a way that you can get value out of it. And so for anyone that's currently in this year in America at this time, or even around the world, this in reference to the most clear expression of this book, and you will see for yourself, whichever side you're on or whatever your angle is. I don't care either way, but it's a great example, and it'll allow you to integrate this for yourself, for your benefit, because it's not just Donald J. Trump. It's also, let's say, in the media sphere of people that you never know or never meet, and you never know if they're the deep state behind them or the Illuminatis or whatever the hell you're into. You have Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and all these males with billions and billions of dollars. Then you have real life stuff, like when you go to work and you're dealing with workers and other fellow people, or you're a mobster or a gangster and you're dealing with like other folks. You can buy things such a book, you can be in a much better position for yourself to find out. Once, if you know who you are and what you really want, you can identify the little smoke screens and techniques that are going on. So without further ado, let me just go forward into this. Okay, so yeah, so the premise is that Donald didn't read the preface. Okay, Donald just read these laws, and you'll see as I read the laws, and briefly, I'll try and give some examples, but you can find them for yourself. You just need to check your own brain and remember and go like, oh yeah, okay. So law number 1 turns out not the most relevant. It's called never outshine the master. Never outshine the master. Always make those above you feel comfortably superior in your desire to please or impress them. Do not go too far in displaying your talents, or you might accomplish the opposite. Inspire fear and insecurity. Make your masters appear more brilliant than they are, and you will attain the heights of power. I don't know, maybe back in the day Donald did something like this, but essentially this is irrelevant to Donald because he has styled himself as the master. You're not going to mess with Donald, right? Okay. Law number 2, never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. That's definitely a Donald thing. Be wary of friends. They will betray you more quickly, for they are easily aroused to envy. They also become spoiled and tyrannical, but hire a former enemy and he will be more loyal than a friend because he has more to prove. Someone like Ted Cruz, someone like Lindsey Graham, all those people that were talking bad about Donald during the thing. And then Donald's like, come on board. In fact, you have more to fear from friends than from enemies. If you have no enemies, find a way to make them. That's very much a Donald thing, right? You agree, whether you're one side or the other, you know what I'm saying. Number 3, conceal your intentions, right? Okay. That's pretty much Donald. Keep people off balance and in the dark by never revealing the purpose behind your actions. If they have no clue what you're up to, they cannot prepare a defense. Guide them far enough down the wrong path, envelop them in enough smoke, and by the time they realize your intentions, it will be too late. That's stuff that could pertain as far back to, and I'm sure there was things he was doing already when he read them. He goes like, oh my God, So like with the casinos and different things he would do, or the world wrestling stuff, right there, conceal your intentions. Law 4, always say less than necessary. Now what happens is in each chapter, let's say in this one, you have both examples of observing the law, or when people don't do the law and the outcome, whether it was courtiers or Russian czars and stuff like that, and then exceptions to the law. So that's the kind of way it's laid out. So in this case, it says always say less than necessary. Now, when you see Donald, he's always talking, that fits into another law later on. But always, though, when he's doing his power thing, he always says less than. He never says the whole thing. So here's how it lays out. When you are trying to impress people with words, the more you say, the more common you appear and the less in control. Like me, I'm not very good with power, contrary to what people might think, but and the less in control. Even if you are saying something banal, it will seem original if you make it vague, open-ended, and sphinx-like. I mean, that's pretty much, he goes like, you'll know, you'll see. Powerful people impress and intimidate by saying less. The more you say, the more likely you are to say something foolish. Okay, so keep that one in mind. It intermixes with another. So I'm going to assume that you get this stuff. Law 5. So much depends on reputation. Guard it with your life. An interesting law. Pretty much, Donald has reputation. He's the boss. He's the firer. He's the maker. He's the decision maker. And that's it. Nothing's going to stop him. Reputation is the cornerstone of power. Through reputation alone, you can intimidate and win. Once it slips, however, you are vulnerable and will be attacked on all sides. Make your reputation unassailable. Always be alert to potential attacks and thwart them before they happen. Meanwhile, learn to destroy your enemies by opening holes in their own reputations. Then stand aside and let public opinion hang them. That's pretty good. I mean, that's the whole birther Obama thing. That's the whole Hillary email thing. And we're talking within the sphere of Donald Trump, not because I care, but because it's a great example, an illustration of this. And this is what This power is what this period of time is about. Not in a bad way. It's just a battle, right? There's a battle. Law 6. Court attention at all costs. OMG, come on. Everything is judged by its appearance. What is unseen counts for nothing. Never let yourself get lost in the crowd, then, or buried in oblivion. Stand out. Be conspicuous at all costs. Make yourself a magnet of attention by appearing larger, more colorful, more mysterious than the bland and timid masses. You don't want to be one of the bland and timid masses, do you? I'm looking this way because that's where my microphone is. I've been out of it for a while on account of circumstances, but got a computer again, so whatever. Law 7, totally right. So far we're at least 4 for 6, right? Law 7, get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. Use the wisdom, knowledge, and legwork of other people to further your own cause. Not only will such assistance save you valuable time and energy, it will give you a godlike aura of efficiency and speed. In the end, your helpers will be forgotten and you will be remembered. Never do yourself what others can do for you. Law 8. Make other people come to you. Use bait if necessary. That's perfect. Hey, I got money. I got this. I got the other thing. When you force the other person to act, you are the one in control. It is always better to make your opponent come to you, abandoning his own plans in the process. Lure him with fabulous gains, then attack. You hold the cards. Maybe it's a lawsuit. Maybe it's not paying contractors. And they're like, wait a second. What am I supposed to do? Well, I guess you got to go. You got to go to court. You got to go to him to get what you want. Law 9. Win through your actions, never through argument. That's very Donald. Any momentary triumph you think you have gained through argument is really a Pyrrhic victory. He never argues his point. He just does what he does. The resentment and ill will you stir up is stronger and lasts longer than any momentary change of opinion. It is much more powerful to get others to agree with you through your actions without saying a word. Demonstrate, do not explicate. It's a very good. Now what happens is, I'm pointing this out in relation to Donald Trump, right? But these are things that you can observe in others, and also some of them are laws that you can use for yourself. Say, for instance, you're trying to have something happen with family or friends or business or whatever. That's a very makes sense law, right? You do your action, don't keep talking about it. I'm the blah blah blah. Anyway, so I know that one through my own problem. Law 10, it's kind of like may or may not be so relevant. Infection, avoid the unhappy and unlucky. You can die from someone else. This one is basically stay away from people that are bad luck and not doing well. You can die from someone else's misery. Emotional states are as infectious as diseases. You may feel you are helping the drowning man, but you are only precipitating your own disaster. The unfortunate sometimes draw misfortune on themselves. They will also draw it on you. Associate with the happy and fortunate instead. In some ways, he kind of does that. He complains about people that are negative, that don't support him, that whatever. He wants people that are upbeat, that are positive, that are like, go, Donald, go, Donald, go. And that makes sense. You create that world around you. So no, I'm going to say, yeah, he avoids, if you're unlucky, you're miserable, you're fired. That's the way it is. Law 11, this one is totally Donald. Learn to keep people dependent on you. Law 11. To maintain your independence, you must always be needed and wanted. The more you are relied on, the more freedom you have. Make people depend on you for their happiness and prosperity, and you have nothing to fear. Never teach them enough so that they can do without you. Right? Number 12 is a really good one. It says use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim. One sincere and honest move will cover over dozens of dishonest ones. Totally. I watched him do that. I forgot what it was. It was some thing where he just kind of like admitted something after like hundreds, thousands of lies or dishonesties. And for people that are supporting Donald, that's nice. You go like, you see, that's good. right? And then for people that are always thinking, oh, he's whatever, it's like, hey, look, he just said something true. He just said something honest, but it's selective to disarm your victim. Open-hearted gestures of honesty and generosity bring down the guard of even the most suspicious people. Once your selective honesty opens a hole in their armor, you can deceive and manipulate them at will. A timely gift, a Trojan horse, will serve the same purpose. Law 13. When asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest and never to their mercy or gratitude. That's a good one. So like when you're telling people, hey, we used to do whatever. How come? Give me a thing. And the point of the matter is, if you need to turn to an ally for help, do not bother to remind him of your past assistance and good deeds. He will find a way to ignore you. Instead, uncover something in your request or in your alliance with him that will benefit him and emphasize it out of all proportion. He will respond enthusiastically when he sees something to be gained for himself. Does that make sense? I mean, when you try and tell a person, like, look, all the stuff I did for you, I've done that, I experienced that at Starbucks and Pete's Coffee. It's like, hey, I was busting my butt for you, and then you're successful, and now I'm a piece of crap. And so we had issues. I don't work there anymore. Law 14. This is an interesting one. It's kind of like one of those ones that make you feel a little squeamish, but here it is. Pose as a friend, work as a spy. Knowing about your rival is critical. Use spies to gather valuable information that will keep you a step ahead. Better still, play the spy yourself. In polite social encounters, learn to probe. Ask indirect questions to get people to reveal their weaknesses and intentions. There is no occasion that is not an opportunity for artful spying. So, spying sounds like cloak and dagger, but it's just a matter of finding out what's going on with who. And you're like, hey, let's have dinner. And so that was that, who was the guy? Comey, right? There was a movie, I think, that got made on Netflix. I don't get a chance to watch anything. Anyway, whatever. But talks about having a dinner. And so, hey, you're the best. You're part of my team. Let's be loyal. Let me find out where you are. And that's like Donald Trump does that fantastically. And so I could see where a group of people would say, like, okay, you can see these things, right? I mean, obviously you can see these things. So the thing is, someone goes, well, there are people that are behind the scenes manipulating. Well, you know what? There's always been that. For thousands of years, ever long as there's been people, there's been a conspiracy. There's been oppressors. There's been the head bully, the king, the chief, the tribal leader, the one. And maybe there was a period of time in antiquity where it was different. There was a matriarchy or whatever it was, and people were more equitable. But somewhere along the way, the scales tipped. That's for another time because we're doing with this. But the point of the matter is, so that's just part of our DNA. That it's not new that you and I are being manipulated and oppressed and controlled by forces. They're not even shy about it, I mean, so you don't need to go very deep or very far behind the things. But let's say, for instance, it's gotten to be so many words, media, complications, information, and overload, and you want it to be simplified. Then you find someone that seems to have the tools, and you trust in him to be able to pose as a friend, work as a spy on your behalf. Like, that's one angle. Or on behalf of others, because you hope for the best. Because certainly, whether you're anti-Don Trump, pro-Don Trump, or indifferent, any one of you wakes up with the best intentions. None of you, pretty much, I don't believe, wakes up wanting to be a jerk first thing in the morning, even if you're sporting all kinds of whatever, arsenals of weapons of whatever. Part of you wants something good to happen. You want to be a source of good, and it's a sea of confusion. And so that's why this book is good, 48 Laws of Power, because it'll help you clarify your vision for yourself, and then give power to the good in you to navigate through a sea of power dynamics that are the air you breathe, Anyway, Law 15. This is where the impeachment thing didn't work very well, and this is where the famous so-called Democrats and even Republicans because Donald Trump is good. That's why he's so good. This law is crush your enemy totally. All great leaders since Moses have known that a feared enemy must be crushed completely. Sometimes they have learned this the hard way, parentheses. If one ember is left alight, no matter how dimly it smolders, a fire will eventually break out. More is lost through stopping halfway than through total annihilation. The enemy will recover and will seek revenge. Crush him, not only in body but in spirit. So the reason this sort of popped into my mind was because this is a few days after Donald Trump's second impeachment acquittal. Okay, and then you have the two different parties, red pill, blue pill, whatever they are. And then among the red pill party, you have friction between them, and you have this looming figure that is he's the one. And you have others that go, wait a second, hold on. Excuse me. And what was an opportunity was given if one conceived of Donald J. Trump as an enemy or something to undesired to be gotten rid of, to have been crushed better than he was crushed. He was so not crushed that one day later his daughter-in-law is being spoken of by Lindsey Graham. These are all characters that in the future will be completely forgotten. But anyway, for you who are in the now, Lindsey Graham's all like, oh, I mean, that is someone that has been powered in spades by Donald J. Trump. It's amazing. But anyway, and then Donald is pretty good. Donald has had numerous enemies, and he has a history of crushing his enemies, among which I'm going to say the enemy he crushed the most and first was his older brother, Fred Christ Trump, who was the heir apparent. That's a different story. That's I may have different opinions about things, but anyway, if you want to get into a Game of Thrones kind of Machiavellian, Shakespearean, Macbeth, King Lear, Hamlet style drama, research and go back to the period of time that was when Donald was 35 and his brother was 43, and his brother died. And ask yourself if Trump crushed Christ is what it comes down to. It's an issue for me. Anyway, Law 16. Use absence. Are you doing okay? Anyway, never mind. I used to do a radio show, and that's how I'd interject. Whatever. Use absence to increase your respect and honor, which is interesting because hasn't been very absent. But when the election thing, when he lost the election, he was very absent. Up until then, you didn't really see him use this law, but I think he popped open the book and was looking for a refresher course. And he's like, oh, okay, that's the law I got to use. Use absence to increase respect and honor. Too much circulation makes the price go down. The more you are seen and heard from, the more common you appear. If you are already established in a group, temporary withdrawal from it will make you more talked about, even more admired. You must learn when to leave. Create value through scarcity. So this law comes off to me more like one of the manipulative ones. You're not going to, on a normal thing, a lot of people don't use that law, but that law is used. So, for instance, you're not going to just, absent yourself. So people do that, though, like a parent, that feels undervalued by their kids or their spouse, all of a sudden might pull out. And they don't know why they're doing it. But by pulling out, all of a sudden everyone looks around and goes, oh, where is, Johnny or daddy or mom or whatever? And there's a sense of power there. Now, you can do that in certain circumstances where there's, whatever. But, okay, this one is so Donald Trump. Okay, Law 17. Keep others in suspended terror. Cultivate an air of unpredictability. He used that from the very beginning so much. Humans are creatures of habit with an insatiable need to see familiarity in other people's actions. Your predictability gives them a sense of control. Turn the tables. Be deliberately unpredictable. Behavior that seems to have no consistency or purpose will keep them off balance, and they will wear themselves out trying to explain your moves. Taken to an extreme, this strategy can intimidate and terrorize. That is like, come on, whoever you are. This and all the reason I mention it is because you'll see the format is this is bathroom reading. It's a thick book, but it's laid out for short attention spans and ADD, and that is certainly uh, an aspect of Donald Trump. You'll see later some other laws where people miss people that are negative or want they have their power, because that's the other part. It's not a criticism, it's a battle of power. So these are folks that do power. Now the unfortunate part is you can take a meta look at this when if you pick it up and decide to look at it, uncomfortable as it may be for you, but I recommend you do. You can also see through the red blue pill team, which together employ the same things as meta social constructs to keep the downtrodden, the meek, in place through these tools. But now this is out. Books are available, YouTube is available, etc., etc. These are all new things in the last, 50 years. So it's no wonder that there's a feeling of anxiety, madness, insanity, because it is like a flood of information and good information. I mean, a lot of brilliant people, and that's the problem. People try and share with you a great piece of insight. This doctor does this. Everyone's got a degree. Everyone's got a this. And we're all being invited to the game, and we don't have the tools in place right away to sift through and discern. But that's okay. That's why you have me, and that's why I'm getting my act together, so to speak. Maybe not. Okay, so that was Law 17, Others in Suspended Terror. And the nice thing is you can go after this or whenever you want. You can go yourself to Google and look up 48 Laws of Power, and you'll come across many sites that have the basic distillation of each chapter. You don't have to buy the book, so you don't have to. But I would recommend it's a good read. If you can find one, get a used copy. I wouldn't pay, pay for it, whatever. Law 18, do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous. Very nice law here, because I've had friends that dabble in like drugs, and so they'd be always paranoid, looking through the window, try and have little places because they wouldn't want people to get their money or something like that. Well, when you're doing that sort of thing, you might as well expect that something bad is going to happen to you. So, like that's a whole different type of thing. But in that world, there's a bunch of power dynamics that go on. But instinctively, we're used to the idea of isolation for protection. But Donald has been brilliant from the very beginning, from the coming down the escalator, surrounded by people, doing everything in the open. Fabulous. Do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous. The world is dangerous and enemies are everywhere. Everyone has to protect themselves. A fortress seems the safest, but isolation exposes you to more dangers than it protects you from. It cuts you off from valuable information and makes you conspicuous and an easy target. Better to circulate among people, find allies, mingle. You are shielded from your enemies by the crowd. Maybe Howard Hughes would be a good example of the extreme of fortressism. And that this is a good heads up for those of you who are billionaires. If you're billionaires, what I don't understand and others will never comprehend is that you are not free at all. You are surrounded 24/7 by security, by cameras. Jeff Bezos, for all he's got, is not free to go down to a Circle K or a 7-Eleven or a convenience store to buy himself a soda just to go. It's not going to happen from now till, unless he gets rid of everything, unless he empties his hand of whatever illusions of zeros he has. Anyway, so whether you want it or not, fortresses get developed. So sometimes a gated community sounds like a great thing to aspire to until you see that the gate is also prison bars. Depends how you look at it, Law 19. Not so much with Trump. This one is maybe one of his weak ones, I think. Know who you're dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person. So where he's at now seems to me, well, maybe not. Maybe that's the thing with Putin and Xi and these kind of folks. And then besides that, there's probably other old money he's dealt with that they're like, Don, very nice. People, on the one hand, you get the supporters of Donald Trump that are like, okay, he's infiltrating, he's going to out all the bad blood and negativity, and then you got others that go, well, he's a puppet for other folks and simply a jester on a string, and behind that is another. So both groups, especially the followers, aspire or propose or put forth ideas about things behind the obvious. It can't be Donald Trump. So Donald Trump supporters love Donald Trump, but there's more to Donald Trump than the Donald Trump you see, per Q, if that's the case. Then the other ones that are anti-Donald Trump see Donald Trump as a front for other forces, whether it's the Koch brothers or the dudes that have Newsmax or whatever the outlet is that is owned by the biggest funder, Berger. I don't know what his name is. Who cares? But so this says, do not offend the wrong person. So Donald Trump is obviously offensive to like everybody and anybody he wants, but there's a small group that maybe he's aware of. So I might not be privy to it. Donald may know. Know who you're dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person. There are many different kinds of people in the world, and you can never assume that everyone will react to your strategies in the same way. Deceive or outmaneuver some people, and they will spend the rest of their lives seeking revenge. They are wolves in lamb's clothing. Choose your victims and opponents carefully, then never offend or deceive the wrong person. This could be one of the Achilles heels that Mr. Trump has, and everyone kind of has one of those Achilles heels. It's kind of a good thing. You know, if you go around saying, I'm going to talk my mind, I'm going to talk my mind, one day you may talk your mind to the wrong person, and you may say something to someone, and you're like, whoop, you have your ass handed to you on a platter. Law 20, so Donald, right? Do not commit to anyone. That is him. It is the fool who always rushes to take sides. Do not commit to any side or cause but yourself. By maintaining your independence, you become the master of others, playing people against one another, making them pursue you. Law 21. And this is something for like his enemies, so to speak, to consider, especially Democrat, liberal, self-indulgent types. I mean, the way I look at it is like, it's all the same. It's all anyway. But this is Donald Trump when he does his like and all the different stuff. Play a sucker to catch a sucker. Seem dumber than your mark. No one likes feeling stupider than the next person. The trick then is to make your victims feel smart, and not just smart, but smarter than you are. Once convinced of this, they will never suspect that you may have ulterior motives. Pretty good. Law 22. This is an interesting thing. He made, again, a difficult one for, I think, instinctively for Donald to use, but I think he's used it a couple of times, probably in bankruptcies, and now at this point in time, during the little impeachment window type of thing, and after the inauguration, use the surrender tactic. Transform weakness into power. When you are weaker, never fight for honor's sake. Choose surrender instead. Surrender gives you time to recover, time to torment and irritate your conqueror, time to wait for his power to wane. Like, you can see, like, everyone else is all like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Meanwhile, Donald's playing golf. He's like, okay, I give up. You're right. You're right. Meanwhile, he's plotting, he's strategizing, he's figuring out first move. If they acquit him, what he's going to do. If they convict him, what he's going to do. He's like just chilling. He's like a Zen master. I mean, a Zen master of power. So if you love Donald Trump, this is how he does what he does. This is the manual. This is closer to him than his Bible or Art of the Deal, is all I'm saying. And there's information on the internet, but that's besides the point. Do not give him the satisfaction of fighting and defeating you. Surrender first. By turning the other cheek, you infuriate and unsettle him. Make surrender a tool of power. So I don't know how much he uses that. Concentrate your forces. That's Law 23. Conserve your forces and energies by keeping them concentrated at their strongest point. You gain more by finding a rich mine and mining it deeper than by flitting from one shallow mine to another. Okay, that's good. That's what they call the base, right? If you're a Donald Trump supporter that is not wavered by seeing anything else, you don't watch anything but Fox and you Newsmax and then Donald, this is you are his Law 23. It's all about you. He'd rather go deep with you than wide. And that's what happens. That's the challenge when you have a sort of a really pretty straightforward white male base, right? Of 20-something to 50-something off-white guys that are having to jockey for power and the little crumbs that are left on the table, that's a pretty easy target. When you're dealing with also another group of humans that are a diverse colors and then genders and then this, that, and the other thing and sexual preferences and all that stuff, you can't really go deep with anybody because it's just too much going on. So you have width, which is what makes the liberal agenda so frustrated for the liberals, and you have depth, which is what makes the Republican, we're sticking with our folks. So concentrate your forces. I guess he does do that. Intensity defeats extensity every time. When looking for sources of power to elevate you, find the one key patron, the fat cow who will give you milk for a long time to come. How do you do that? How do you lose an election right down on the bottom of a fundraiser that you're not going to use any of the money that's given to you to actually defend yourself, but you're going to keep it all and keep getting it? So that's really impressive. Law 24, play the perfect courtier. That's kind of tricky. This is a reference to Renaissance courts where you had a king, and then you'd have among the other folks, they'd have to jockey for favor with the king, and they'd have to be very subtle and behave and stab each other in the back in a way that no one could really see and argue about. And so, you got that a lot among the people that he kept in his court. Again, the album Animals by Pink Floyd is a really great soundtrack to this. I think you can find. The perfect courtier thrives in a world where everything revolves around power and political dexterity. He has mastered the art of indirection. He flatters, yields to superiors, and asserts power over others in the most oblique and graceful manner. This is more visible among the Senate people, and whether it's in the Democrat or the whatever, but like Mitch McConnell, Ted Cruz, suck up. They flatter, yield to superior. On the one hand, you're being told all these horrible things, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh yes, king. Learn and apply the laws of courtiership, and there will be no limit to how far you can rise in the court. And that's what Mitch McConnell was really good at. And is probably good at, but now he's getting older. He's losing his thing. Now the thing is, what is the price you pay for playing the game of power? And along the way, caging people and destroying lives and all that. That's all really real stuff. And there are reverberations, and that's what the preface read is for. But we know that Donald doesn't read prefaces, and most of these guys don't read prefaces. Everybody wants to, I got it. I can do it. I know what you're talking about. I don't need to read the instruction manual. I can fix this. That's a guy thing, all right? I know where I'm going. I don't need a map. You know where you're going. I got the map. Law 25, totally Donald. Recreate yourself. Do not accept the roles that society foists on you. Recreate yourself by forging a new identity, one that commands attention and never bores the audience. Be the master of your own image rather than letting others define it for you. Incorporate dramatic devices into your public gestures and actions. Your power will be enhanced and your character will seem larger than life. Awesome. That's you get it, right? Whether it was originally with his towers in New York, or then being on the David Letterman show, being a playboy, being a professional wrestling guy, being a casino owner, being a concerned social citizen with a skating rink in Central Park, and then doing the Upper West Side and building the biggest thing, and then being a Democrat, and then being a Republican. Recreate yourself. So far, out of 25 laws, I'm going to say that at least 20 of them are clearly used by Donald, meticulously, not just a little bit, not accidentally, but and then if you read those chapters, you'll see for yourself. So to me, that's not a critique. That's simply saying, look, Donald Trump has decided, or has pursued, or we have decided to make him a thing in the sphere of consciousness. You can't have a Trump tumor. It's a permanent Trump tumor. It's like a scar, for a certain generation. And it looks like people want to retain that thing. Now, there was that with the Bush and the Bush dynasty. In New York, you got Cuomo's and the Cuomo dynasty. So we have little fiefdoms and Caesarisms and pharaohs all over the place in their own little nexuses. Never mind that every corporation in America is a pyramid structure with a CEO at top and nothing at all democratic, where these are all different things. But these are all power. And so you may or may not be a person. You may not even be there. This may just be me at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, ranting, whatever. Law 26, Donald's good with this. Keep your hands clean. You must seem a paragon of civility and efficiency. Your hands are never soiled by mistakes and nasty deeds. Maintain such a spotless appearance by using others as scapegoats and cat's paws to disguise your involvement. So, you are not the racist. You just had nothing to do with it. But those people, they did whatever. Or you would never put kids in cages, but your director did. And so you find out. So that's keep your hands clean. Of course, he also likes to roll up his sleeves and get in there. Law 27, OMG. Okay, so this is just why not? This all people do this, so that's what this law is about. This book isn't about Donald Trump, but Donald Trump is about this book. But then this book is also about other scenarios, so you can take it and apply it. Play on people's need to believe to create a cult-like following. Law 27. When I read that, okay, tempting. It tempted me because it tempted me. But here you go. Donald's done a great job. And so if you're a supporter of Donald, here you go. You are Law 27. People have an overwhelming desire to believe in something. Become the focal point of such desire by offering them a cause, a new faith to follow. Keep your words vague but full of promise. Emphasize enthusiasm over rationality and clear thinking. Give your new disciples rituals to perform. Ask them to make sacrifices on your behalf. In the absence of organized religion and grand causes, your new belief system will bring you untold power. Law 27. That is stunning, if you ask me. Anyway, followed by Law 28. Enter action with boldness. Enter action with boldness, Law 28. If you are unsure, now this is so Donald Trump. Enter action with boldness. If you are unsure of a course of action, do not attempt it. Your doubts and hesitations will infect your execution. Timidity is dangerous. Better to enter with boldness. Any mistakes you commit through audacity are easily corrected with more audacity. Everyone admires the bold. No one honors the timid. There you have it. How can you argue with that? Law 29. Plan all the way to the end. Now, here's the tricky part. That's why I think I got up this morning, because it's just after in existential time where I'm at now in my world, February 16th, just after that, whatever. It's about a 2-year window till, it's not even a 2-year window with this ridiculous politics that have become way too much. Got to get rid of this. Got to get rid of the politics. Got to get rid of the government. Got to get rid of the whole thing, shut it down, start over again. But that's a big order. So let's assume that's not going to happen in the next year. So there's going to be about 6 months of breathing room before everyone starts again with primaries and all that crap leading up to 2022 and the battle for pointlessness, while the climate is collapsing, while people are suffering, while everything is changing, yada, yada, yada. So the end is not in sight. But this, and it may be, if he does follow this, that this might be a clue to something. Plan all the way to the end. The ending is everything. Plan all the way to it, taking into account all the possible consequences, obstacles, and twists of fortune that might reverse your hard work and give the glory to others. By planning to the end, you will not be overwhelmed by circumstances, and you will know when to stop. Gently guide fortune and help determine the future by thinking far ahead. Something to consider, think about. One could make the case that as far as election, re-election, that you take it in chunks. You plan to the end of a phase. So you know whether side you're on or not at all. That before the election even took place, Donald Trump had planned to the insurrection. I can say that because I'm not a court of law. It's really clear. You may like that, and so it's good. So good for you. You may not like that, so you might think it's bad, but it's clear that this is going to be a fake election. I'm going to tell you that. I know. So when you get to the election, one of two things would have been the possibility. He either would win, or would lose. If he won, that would be one trajectory. If he lost, it would be another. But I think he's pretty good, and I think he considered both for himself strategies of things to undertake. Having lost, do you concede or do you, whatever? And then with the impeachment, do I get acquitted? Do I not? There's a branch in the road, right? So, Law 30, make your accomplishments seem effortless. This is definitely amazing, because since the beginning, I mean, all the footage you have, and there's never been anyone so documented as an entity. Someone who has so been either so in himself and sure of himself that he has no need for others, or so absent from himself that he simply exists outside himself as a media entity. But you can go, and that's why people don't. All you need to do is just look at old David Letterman interview shows with Donald Trump at different phases. It's almost like you could see him talk about his father and abandonment issues and things like that. And it's right there. It's his own words. There's no deep state. But if anything, all the images you get, he's always making it effortless. I just bought an airline. I just opened a casino. So this law is really, and that's not easy to do. Like just making this little bit of video is like, you can tell it's a problem for me. So I'm never going to be, that. Well, I may be this, but I won't be force. Anyway, that's a whole different thing. That's my ego just got in the way. But make your accomplishments seem effortless. So, your actions must seem natural and executed with ease. All the toil and practice that go into them, and also all the clever tricks, must be concealed. When you act effortlessly as if you could do much more. Avoid the temptation of revealing how hard you work. It only raises questions. Teach no one your tricks, or they will be used against you. So, I mean, that is Donald J. Trump, master of that, because there is no way it's been an easy ride. There's no way it's not the hardest thing to do the things he's done, whether it is simply to stamp your name on a building and brand it all over the world or any of this. That's a 24/7 everything. So the people that love and think Donald Trump is amazing are absolutely correct, in my opinion, because just amazing. And so he gives you what you want. Look, I'm playing golf. Look how easy this is. Now, in the case of being the president of the United States, you still don't know. We still don't know what's what, because the process is still in process. But that's why this is the right time, because anyway, this is the right time if you're interested in engaging and participating more fully in the world around you, which you're not going to have a choice. You're either going to have to suffer global climate change and mass migrations and shortages of water and lack of food and stress and fighting with your neighbors, or you might want to engage. If you don't engage, you're still going to be impacted. If you want to engage, you might want to know what's going on and bring yourself to the party. Don't become a puppet for the puppet masters, unless you want to. And then it tells you how to be a good puppet. Law 31, control the options. Get others to play with the cards you deal. The best deceptions are the ones that seem to give the other person a choice. Your victims feel they are in control but are actually your puppets. Oh, it said puppets. Give people options that come out in your favor, whichever one they choose. Force them to make choices between the lesser of two evils, both of which serve your purpose. Put them on the horns of a dilemma. They are gored wherever they turn. So there's plenty of examples of that with Donald, but this is also one of those meta laws that talk about the political system. When you have, we always talk about the election as being lesser of two evils. And so we are all victimized by, you think, and this is something that George Carlin joked about the fact that we don't, you're not in control, I'm not in control, and the choice of election is an illusion on behalf of the oligarchs and the plutarchs or whoever the hell it is. And so that's Law 30. I just mentioned that as a way in this book goes beyond simply Donald J. Trump. Law 32, perfect. Play to people's fantasies. The truth is often avoided because it is ugly and unpleasant. Never appeal to truth and reality unless you are prepared for the anger that comes from disenchantment. Life is so harsh and distressing that people who can manufacture romance or conjure up fantasy are like oases in the desert. Everyone flocks to them. There is great power in tapping into the fantasies of the masses. I mean, come on, that's Apprentice, Game of Thrones references with his, we're kind of whatever. I have never even seen one of the episodes, but, Trump, brilliant. Law 33. Now, this is, okay, like I said, whether you're a fan, whether you're not a fan, whether you're indifferent, discover each man's thumbscrew. Everyone has a weakness, a gap in the castle wall. That weakness is usually an insecurity, an uncontrollable emotion or need. It can also be a small secret pleasure. Either way, once found, it is a thumbscrew you can turn to your advantage. That is so, you got money, you got people. And let me see, let's not imagine Donald doing all his background research on the possibly problematic Senate people, Republicans. What's the guy's name? McCarthy. Maybe he does. Maybe he's never gotten a chick. Maybe none of these. Maybe Lindsey Graham is not. You can conjecture anything. If you can do QAnon and the deep state thing, try and imagine. You don't think that Donald has embarrassing info about Lindsey Graham or Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio or McCarthy, any of those guys that inexplicably, you're like, how could they not believe in the thing and then do the thing? How could he one day say this and do the other? Okay, when worse than any pee-pee tapes that Donald would have, and he doesn't have any, is between him and Epstein back in the day and carefully, this book came out in 98, okay? He's been running for president not once, but before. So this is not new. So just like anybody else, he's got the goods. Now, who has the goods on Donald? Someone's got the goods on Donald, and he bleeds hair dye. Was New York State Attorney General or District Attorney or whatever. And if you look up the World Trade Center when it blew up, one of the things that got blown up was all the records of the New York District Attorney General's office. Deep state. Law 34. Be royal in your own fashion. Act like a king to be treated like one. Now, there you go. Trump is definitely royal in his own fashion. Gold thrones, all that stuff. It's like a third world dictatorship, whatever. The way you carry yourself will often determine how you are treated. In the long run, appearing vulgar or common will make people disrespect you. For a king respects himself and inspires the same sentiment in others. By acting regally and confident of your powers, you make yourself seem destined to wear a crown. So the thing is, that makes sense. Like, for instance, the problem for Donald has been that abandonment by his parents, feeling rejected by society. His dad built projects in like the poor places, exploited people, and made his money, but it was okay. He gave the black slums and all that stuff, and then made his living that way. But Donald wanted more. Donald wanted more. But Donald wouldn't be invited. He was nouveau riche. Donald didn't know how to hold a fork. Donald didn't know how to have social discussion. Donald only thought about himself. So he was never invited to the parties, always rejected. He went and he got an education, but he didn't get it at Harvard. He didn't get it at Stanford. No one applauded his intellectual stuff. He did business. He did business. He did business. So the same with his royalty. His royalty is it's the tacky trailer park royalty in Manhattan. Gold, glittering, big. I got whatever it is, which is fine. So you can, who's to say, and that's been why there's this divide, is that somewhere along the way, a bunch of people that never had education got education. They thought they were really smart. And so during the 60s and 70s, they decided to just lord it over and have credentials and this and that and make anyone that didn't feel stupid. And after a while, you're tired of feeling stupid, and you look at the people that are so damn smart, all the lawyers, the judges, the this and the other one, the scientists, and you're looking at the disaster that they made, and you go you're not so smart, are you? You're not so smart. And so the royalty that is the royalty of the refinement and this and whatever, Donald's you know what? Here's royalty. Look at my gold toilet, okay? And I eat whatever I want. That's badass. I mean, that has its own charm. So you're, king of your people. Law 35, great one. Master the art of timing. Never seem to be in a hurry. Hurrying betrays a lack of control over yourself and over time. Always seem patient, as if you know that everything will come to you eventually. Become a detective of the right moment. Sniff out the spirit of the times, the trends that will carry you to power. Learn to stand back when the time is not yet ripe, and to strike fiercely when it has reached fruition. So Donald Trump, so excellent. Law 36. Disdain things you cannot have. Ignoring them is the best revenge. By acknowledging a petty problem, you can give it existence and credibility. The more attention you pay an enemy, the stronger you make him, and a small mistake is often made worse and more visible when you try to fix it. It is sometimes best to leave things alone. If there is something you want but cannot have, show contempt for it. The less interest you reveal, the more superior you seem. Again, so that's Law 36. I'm sorry this is taking a while. I just noticed. Whatever. Law 36, I'm going to say so far we're at least 31 out of 36 laws. Donald J. Trump, 100%, nailing them. So he was a gymnast, I'd be it might even be closer to 100%, and I'm missing some of it. But anyway, Law 37, that is Donald J. Trump. Create compelling spectacles. Striking imagery and grand symbolic gestures create the aura of power. Everyone responds to them. Stage spectacles for those around you, then full of arresting visuals and radiant symbols that heighten your presence. Dazzled by appearances, no one will notice what you are really doing. No one will notice, except some of us notice. Law 38. I don't know. Think as you like, but behave like others. Well, this might be how he entered into the Republican Party. Think as you like, but behave like others. If you make a show of going against the times, flaunting your unconventional ideas and unorthodox ways, people will think that you only want attention and that you look down upon them. They will find a way to punish you for making them feel inferior. Oh, it is far safer to blend in and nurture the common touch. Share your originality only with tolerant friends and those who are sure to appreciate your uniqueness. Wow. Okay, little eye-opener for me. Okay, so this whole thing with Donald and the fast food and Kentucky Fried Chicken and all that, who eats Kentucky Fried Chicken? Your base. His base eats Kentucky Fried Chicken. Who eats the Burger King? His base eats the Burger King. And so, very subtle. OMG. Is it possible? Now, you see what happens is, some things are conscious intent. Some things are lucky chance. So in the people in the media, they're going to get the special restaurant for, it's all about exclusivity among the liberal media elite, including the Dems, okay? They got just enough money, but they like to be authentic and unique and stuff that can't be comprehended by the rest of us that eat Kentucky Fried Chicken, that eat Burger King, and so forth. So as it turns out, when that was at the beginning, that became a great source of humor. And I love Stephen Colbert. I got to say that's my favorite. But, the sort of smart mockery of someone eating fast food, it's like mocking a huge 70 million people in America that are the 70 million people that make the corporations rich by eating that Kentucky Fried crap, by eating the burger crap, And so the corporations then know better than to get rid of Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is making them rich by driving people, sending them to do their shopping at Walmart, to do, buy kitschy stuff, to eat badly. So it's very subtle. That's what makes him a very clever man, very clever man. Oh, and Russian, different story from Russian. We'll not talk about that. So think as you like, but behave like others. Because he doesn't behave like politicians, but he behaves like the common man. But he's not the common man, because he's never been the common man, because he lived in New York his whole time, and he's got nothing to do with anyone from the South. You're not going to sit on a front porch with him and shuck oysters or whatever the hell that is the imaginary thing that happens. He's not going to be a laboring guy. He's going to look at a truck guy and pull the thing, So he's always been, I don't want to get my fingers dirty. I want to be a bully. I want to be the king. And there you go. I want to have chicks and do that. And that's all he's ever been. So I'm sure he's eaten filet mignon because he had Trump steaks. I'm sure he's had different things. But then it turns out as you get older, like, you work in something, you can have all the finest things, you become jaded. And you go like, you know what I like? I like Kentucky Fried Chicken. After all these different cordon bleu, this, that, and the other thing, I can afford any food anywhere in the world. I'm going to have a Whopper. Totally awesome. God, the guy is a genius. Sorry, I didn't mean to get anyone riled up. Stir up waters to catch fish. Law 39. He's really good at that, too. Anger and emotion are strategically counterproductive. You must always stay calm and objective. But if you can make your enemies angry while staying calm yourself, you gain a decided advantage. Put your enemies off balance. Find the chink in their vanity through which you can rattle them, and you hold the strings. He's really good with that. And in the preface, one of the things that he does do, Donald, and the thing is, and this is the question of the sociopathic narcissism, if that's the way your media feed takes you, is that is in the exercise of power, one of the keys is to be able to detach yourself from your emotions, because when you get angry or when you get emotional, it indicates a lack of power. And so the only emotion that kind of works in power is the power of expressed anger. Most of the time, that's what he's really good at. It's like you can't touch him, and so that's really powerful. That really frustrates people, and so they get thrown off, and so they make decisions that are, silly. Law 40, despise the free lunch. What is offered for free is dangerous. It usually involves either a trick or a hidden obligation. What has worth is worth paying for. By paying your own way, you stay clear of gratitude, guilt, and deceit. It is also often wise to pay the full price. There's no cutting corners with excellence. Be lavish with your money and keep it circulating, for generosity is a sign and a magnet for power. So here is one of the laws, whether you support them or not. It merits further reflection, because when you get bailed out in bankruptcies, is that a free lunch? Is this law, and I'm going to guess this is the law that is Trump's Achilles heel when they talk about hundreds of millions of dollars of coming due, banks and people that have gotten screwed year after year after year. So now, that in that world of big money games and bunches of zeros that people trade and build things, this power game gets played at a whole nother level. This is just simply a guy in an apartment and for the freaking Lenovo computer he got for Black Friday or whatever. But yeah, that's an interesting one. Despise a free lunch. But he wanted to give everyone a free lunch. It's like $2,000. Let's give $2,000. And so the thing is, a lot of people are like, wait a second, I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe we're supposed to worship you now that you gave us like chump change? Whatever. But that's a problem for the billionaires. Law 41, interesting. Avoid stepping into a great man's shoes. What happens first always appears better and more original than what comes after. This is what's going to be difficult for his kids if they do pursue politics, like Eric and whatever. How are they going to compete? It's like Alexander the Great had his father before him, and he had to overthrow his father. Anyway, if you succeed a great man or have a famous parent, you will have to accomplish double their achievements to outshine them. Do not get lost in their shadow or stuck in a past not of your own making. Yeah, you kids. Hey, Don Jr. or Baron, you guys can be nice leaders, compassionate, caring. That'll be different. I'm not saying, but sorry, that was, never mind that. Scratch that. For a bunch of people, Donald Trump is compassionate, caring about what their situation is. So, my bad. Do not get lost in the shadow or stuck in the past not of your own making. Establish your own name and identity by changing course. Slay the overbearing father. That's what it says in the book. Slay the overbearing father. Disparage his legacy and gain power by shining in your own way. Now, the question is, in this book's assessment, is about how Donald Trump used it. Well, you know what? Donald Trump used it with his dad. Like I told you about his brother. His brother was Fred Christ Trump. You know what his dad's name was? Fred Christ Trump. And so on his father's deathbed, and it's written down in stories, when his dad was going through old man stuff, Donald went, got in there, forcibly changed the terms of the will to knock out his brother that he assisted in his demise, for Game of Thrones type of stuff, to crush his enemy totally, such that his brother's children would be taken out of the will appropriately. But anyway, and then his dad was a builder, and Trump decided, I'm going to outshine you. And he did. And good for you, Donald. So that's Law 41. Law 42, strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter. An interesting one. Trouble can often be traced to a single strong individual, the stirrer, the arrogant underling, the poisoner of goodwill. If you allow such people room to operate, others will succumb to their influence. Do not wait for the troubles they cause to multiply. Do not try to negotiate with them. They are irredeemable. Neutralize their influence by isolating or banishing them. Strike at the source of the trouble, and the sheep will scatter. That one's pretty straightforward, right? Fire, fire, fire. Law 43, work on the hearts and minds of others. Coercion creates a reaction that will eventually work against you. You must seduce others into wanting to move in your direction. A person you have seduced becomes your loyal pawn, and the way to seduce others is to operate on their individual psychologies and weaknesses. Soften up the resistant by working on their emotions, playing on what they hold dear and what they fear. Ignore the hearts and minds of others, and they will grow to hate you. So that's a good thing too. Always very nice, always very pleasant, always, doing whatever he does, and then trying to make these connections. Anyway, it's pretty straightforward. Law 44, I've always had a tough time understanding this. If you understand this, good for you. But I'm going to read it anyway. Disarm and infuriate with the mirror effect. With the mirror effect. The mirror reflects reality, but it is also the perfect tool for deception. When you mirror your enemies doing exactly as they do, they cannot figure out your strategy. I guess he does do that. That's his whole thing. It's like, hey, look, you guys did it. Look what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it more. The mirror effect mocks and humiliates them, making them overreact. Yeah, when he says, like, okay, a riot is the violent protests are equated between the one style and the... Yeah, that's pretty good. By holding up a mirror to their psyches, you seduce them with the illusion that you share their values. By holding up a mirror to their actions, you teach them a lesson. Few can resist the power of the mirror effect. Very interesting. Okay, Law 45. Preach the need for change. Okay, that's a good one. Oh my God, this is a good one. Preach the need for change, but never reform too much at once. Okay, that was pretty much it in a nutshell. Big, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do that. And he did stuff just kind of like what's happening now, the undoing of what his doing is in a quick way. But Preach the need for change, but never reform too much at once. Everyone understands the need for change in the abstract, but on the day-to-day level, people are creatures of habit. Too much innovation is traumatic and will lead to revolt. If you are new to a position of power or an outsider trying to build a power base, make a show of respecting the old way of doing things. If change is necessary, make it feel like a gentle improvement on the past. Interesting. And because that was one of my hypotheses, that maybe secretly Donald Trump has an agenda to create unity, and knowing that there exists in our culture still a residual. It's not anyone's fault. If you're white, you're white. What can you do? If you're black, you're black, and you're whatever, female, you're female. So we have inherited many dynamics, and systems are in place that came out of the different relationships, and they become stuck in time, and then we adapt to them. So the church that was built with the spirit of the Holy Spirit back in the day became stone, had rituals that were alive, but over time the people die, the things go, but the building remains, and so people keep acting within that structure, unremembering of what the origins were, and it becomes a comedy, a tragedy, a parody of whatever it used to be. So the same with racial prejudice, or what we're referring to as white Christian nationalism. It's not Christian at all. Anyone that reads the Bible knows it's got nothing to do with Jesus. And the white part is just like, it's just the thing that has to be dealt with. But it's been so politically correct, so undercover, that maybe someone like Donald Trump goes in. And the difference between Trump and Hitler, if you make those kind of comparisons, either way, is that Hitler was really funny, and we can only see that after the fact. Like Nixon lost to Kennedy after TV became a thing. Hitler was this little brown-haired dude that looked nothing like the vision of Germanic, Nordic, blonde, Superman, Ubermachen type of thing. It was like a cartoon, and he was just totally pushing the buttons of an idiot population. In this case here, we have big, blonde, German Teutonic man, and like, I'm a white guy, or so I'm told, but I'm that sort of questionable brown-haired white, kind of like all his lackeys are all the sort of dark-haired kind of wannabe, I wish I was blonde, blue-eyed guys. So now the blonde blue eyes have an actual leader that's a blonde blue eye guy. And the funny thing is, if you look at the family pictures, Donald was an aberration in his family's genetics. He got the Scottish line apparently from his mom, because he didn't look like his dad, and he wasn't dumpy and frumpy. He was this tall, gangly guy, which growing up in New York, in Jamaica Estates where he was raised, would have been a major problem. Everyone would have made fun of him when he was growing up. It was like the ugly duckling or the gangly goose. And so he had to like protect himself, and through his bullying and all that sort of stuff, plus having, a couple $100,000 a year from the time you're 8 years old deposited into your account every year, and knowing that you're a millionaire by the time you're 14, that kind of helps a little bit, but whatever the deal is. So the thing is, but that being said, it might be that he is deep cover. He might be like QAnon squared or Q squared, not outing the cabal of whatever, but outing the residual racist sentiment that prohibits us from moving forward as a country, because we're so close and so much has happened in so short of a time. And no matter what we think, if you're a people of color or a left-leaning white guy who thinks he's a people of color, things are much more potential. This is all good. Our country is good. Our people are good. All the color spectrums. Things are confused right now, but whatever. Anyway, that was not necessary. Let's see if I can wrap this up here in a second. Oh, we're almost done. So preach the need, so respecting the old way of doing things. So even the Confederate flag, what does he care? He's from New York. He doesn't even care. He's like milking, you can look at it cynically or you can look at it like lovingly. It's like, okay, you guys, you had like half a country invested their blood and guts, and we're still together. It's a really weird thing. And their flag, people, you don't want to spit on your ancestors. None of us want to do it. But you know what? How about this? How about except we're all chumps. People of color, women, Southern, Northern, all that stuff. We've all been manipulated by an elite few. Let's destroy the elite few. Let's get rid of them. Let's give them an opportunity. Let's put them on the prongs of a dilemma. Give it up. Help us out. Have a little bit less. Don't become like us. Don't eat Kentucky Fried Chicken. Get yourself $5 million. whatever, a house or two, but you don't need $1 billion. If you have $1 billion, you're a criminal, you know. So those are the enemies. Those are the enemies, not your black neighbor or your white other one or the immigrant person. And the first thing you remember that Donald did was when he got elected, first place he went was to Saudi Arabia. Look it up online. Donald Trump, Saudi Arabia, glowing orb. And you'll see him with his hands on a glowing orb. You want to do a Q thing? You Q people, look up Donald, the first place he went to. And who are the Saudis? The Saudis are the leaders of and the protectors of Mecca, where every Muslim in the world goes for their pilgrimages. Okay. And then instead of, you know, hey, let's ban Muslims, it's like, well, you're going there. You're hanging out with the king of Muslims, which is fine. It's what they do. They're power people. And the thing is, but we are the people, and that's why we're taking time with the Book of Power. Now, Law 46, never appear too perfect. He's really good at that one. He never appears too perfect. So appearing better than others is always dangerous, but most dangerous of all is to appear to have no faults or weaknesses. You know who does that and it loses him power? Adam Schiff. Although he's gotten better. I don't know if you know, by now when you see this, you'll forget who Adam Schiff was, but he was the guy like was in charge of the first impeachment thing and very, very sincere, very nice Democrat, very caring and so forth, and like squeaky clean, never does anything wrong. But I think even somebody told him, must have read the book and go like, Adam, you got to get yourself on the Bill Maher show, whatever that show that he does, and be a little more accessible. You know, Hillary Clinton was like that, like, oh, I am so, you know, not deplorable. And people are like, you know what, you're annoying. You're annoying. How about you be human? And then she tried to be human, but, you know, they're a whole different story. Never appear too perfect. Appearing better than others is always dangerous, but most dangerous of all is to appear to have no faults or weaknesses. Envy creates silent enemies. It is smart to occasionally display defects and admit to harmless vices in order to deflect envy and appear more human and approachable. Talk about grabbing pussy, right? Only gods and the dead can seem perfect with impunity. My God, study this book is like, it's like 42 out of 46 laws so far. Law 47. Now here is the challenge. Here we get closer to the challenge. Do not go past the mark you aimed for. In victory, learn when to stop. In victory, learn when to stop. The moment of victory is often the moment of greatest peril. In the heat of victory, arrogance and overconfidence can push you past the goal you had aimed for, and by going too far, you make more enemies than you defeat. Do not allow success to go to your head. There is no substitute for strategy and careful planning. Set a goal, and when you reach it, stop. So the big X factor in all this, but it works for sharing about this book, is some people have the idea and say, from within his group of people, that Donald didn't really intend to win the presidency. Interesting. Did he plan a plan for if he won the presidency? Or did he make it up once he won the presidency? Right? So that affects almost everything that's happened since. Law 48, and this is the one that I think he's really pretty good at. And this is the Tao. It's the Tao. Law 48, assume formlessness. By taking a shape, by having a visible plan, you open yourself to attack. Instead of taking a form for your enemy to grasp, keep yourself adaptable and on the move. Accept the fact that nothing is certain and no law is fixed, including these 48 laws. The best way to protect yourself is to be as fluid and formless as water. Never bet on stability or lasting order. Everything changes. Anyway, there you go. That was 48 Laws of Power, my interpretation, or not my, me sharing that with you. And that's, there you go. You can take a look at it if you want. I think that's all I needed to share at this point. I may need to share more at another point. I don't know. We'll see. I got a computer now. I'm going to go. I've been down for the count for a while because it's a year anniversary. I think that's what's happening. It's a year anniversary since my mom moved in with me. She has dementia, vascular dementia. It's been challenging. Then there was the pandemic. Then there was racial unrest. Then there's increasing speed of global climate change. Then there's insurrection. And I got 2 adolescent children. And I think I gotta get off my ass. Because now's the time. So anyway, so I woke up.